Alright everyone, let me make sure everything is working quickly and we will get started. Okay, looks like everything is working. Alright. Okay, so yeah, let me just get this set up. Okay, so yeah, this is part 2 and we're actually doing something a little bit different today, and it's actually, I'm making this project more involved. I've been working on it the past few days, and I didn't cover the whole thing on stream because it was a lot of repetitive stuff like UV unwrapping, that kind of thing, and it kind of would be long and boring just to do that on stream the whole time, so I figured I'd just cover the parts where it's more interesting generally. And yeah, so basically I actually am doing 2 parts to this video, and I got another blend file that I'm going to actually open up. And I'll just resize that so you guys can see it better. And if I go to File, Open, City Swung, I believe. Nope. Audio Visualizer. And I did a lot of stuff to this. I drove a lot of these values with the music, and you can see that it actually does play. And this is going to be very cool because my plan is to have the camera going through the tunnel, sort of like this. And let's see. So I'm going to have the camera animating through the tunnel, and not only is this stuff going to animate, the camera's actually going to shake around slightly with the beat, which I think is a nice, cool thing to add. But I'm not going to add that in too excessive because I don't want it to become distracting. So I'm going to have the camera go through the tunnel slowly for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to transition over to the city scene that I'm currently working on. So let's actually go back into the first one. I did a lot of stuff with this one, so I plan on putting more trees inside of this tunnel, and it's just going to look cool in sci-fi. So let's go to the camera, and if I do like, I'm doing cycles, and it will take a long time to render, probably a few days, but I could always send it to a farm if needed, a render farm, but we'll see what I do about that. But so let's go to render, and you can see it looks pretty interesting. Actually, looking at it now, I'm probably going to move this thing back a little bit. I don't really want it on top, and that's a little bit better. So, yeah. And then these things will kind of bounce with the music, and not only does that bounce, these things, the wireframe on the top will also bounce, which will be cool, especially as you go through it. And then as you get to more of the end of the tunnel, or I should say the middle of the tunnel, so you go through this loop, you go through the tree, which I'll have to animate, and I'll do that in another video. Actually, I believe I disabled comments by accident. Yeah, let me enable the live chat. Hopefully you guys can chat now. I accidentally for some reason when I start the streams, the live chat is not enabled. So it should be working now. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I have windows here that I cut out with booleans, and you can see that it just gives a nice, it looks pretty interesting, I think. And yeah, so we'll go through that. Gotta just get this camera where it was in the beginning. I could actually just undo everything. There we go. And so we'll just go through there. I'll have to add a few more things there. But for this stream, I want to focus on the city because that's going to be an important part of the animation. And this animation will probably be broken into 3 or 4 scenes. And we'll transition between them. So you can see that we got the animation here. And if we go to Eevee, but this will be rendered in cycles, but just to preview it, I could show you an Eevee. And it's going to compile the shaders, which takes a little time. It's almost there. There it goes. You can see what I did is I got the material to change color as the noise gets louder, basically. And I did that. I covered in the end of my old video. Let's see, I did that with... Is it this one? I gotta find the object here. Which one is it? Is it the cube? Yeah, it's the cube. And basically it's simpler than it looks. I have a node here and I have a driver, and the driver is driven by the loudness of the music, and then that's driving the color changes of this material, and also the displacement is being driven too, so that's also being animated based on the sound. And same thing with this, I got a driver also controlling this displacement, and obviously the same with the wireframe speaker things here. And I can always change the color of that later on. So yeah, that's a pretty cool setup. But what I want to work on today is the building. So I'm going to go into here, and this will be the second scene that goes through about like maybe 30 to 40 seconds after the first scene is in. And yeah, so basically this texture I put on the building is actually a building I made in Blender, and I just rendered the building with an orthographic camera and then projected it onto these buildings. I use cube projection, which works pretty good, because if I did the UV unwrap and I did, let's say, which one is it called? Smart UV project, it would take forever and it would never go. My computer would just crash, it runs out of RAM. But now the main thing I gotta figure out is how to texture the top, because I don't want this for the top. It doesn't look good, and it just basically looks, it doesn't look like a roof. So this has to be changed. And to be honest, this isn't perfect, but from far away you're not really going to notice it, so I'm just going to leave that, because I'm going to be trying not to get too close to the buildings to kind of hide the lack of detail. I'd like to keep this kind of low poly to keep the render time decent. And the way I made these buildings actually is I used a website, and I'll show you that. It is called City Generator, and it's on here. So I'll just go through it basically, and it's open source, which is nice. It's a very, very cool program, and so let me go on itch.io City Generator. And it's a procedural city generator, all open source, and it's great. It's an awesome program, and definitely support the developers who made this, especially that they let you use everything however you like. That's awesome. Definitely support this. So anyway, to run the generator, all you have to do is just click Run Generator. It's awesome, and you can just place. These are like, it's a little hard to understand, but this is like the center of the city, and then these are like fields where you place your like bodies of water, that kind of thing. And you could just move this wherever you want. Let's say something like this is good, and then I could just press generate, and there you go, it already generates a city for you. And then you could just do download and then STL, and then I imported that into Blender, and then I added my own textures, and that works out perfectly for creating some interesting cities. So that's how I did that. So let me pull this back to the side. Yeah. So, but now I have to get the top textured, and I have to give it a new texture. So I'd rather see if there's a way I can avoid having to select the top of all these, because there's, what, 500 buildings maybe here, and that's a lot to select. So maybe if I just select like this, it'll, yeah, that actually worked out perfectly. So now I could just make a new texture and just assign this and call this roof. And I don't know, I could give that my concrete material for the roof, or actually this one. And then I could copy in this, Control C, and then Control V. And I'm not going to use a bump map because that will slow things down and you won't really notice it, especially if it's just the roof. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just leave that unconnected to save as much render time as possible. Yeah, so that's the roof, and that looks okay. You won't really be seeing it. Maybe it's a little too bright, so I'm going to actually take that down and make it darker, and make it so it's not so, so that it's not so, the texture's not super noticeable. And I'm going to look at a reference at the top of a building just to see what kind of look I should be going for. Yeah, so I think something like that is pretty good. And actually, to make it a little more interesting, I could do something else. So I'm going to do that. In case I get an aerial view of it, it would be nice to improve it a little bit. So maybe I'll just bring that darkness up and make it something like that. And then I could also, let's see, I don't like that reflective look though. Bring it down a little more and maybe bring this one down. That's a little better. And I'm going to add in a brick texture. And brick texture. And then I could just, let's see, what do I do? Multiply it. And then bring that into the texture coordinate. And then mix RGB. And then set that to multiply by 1. And I'll use the factor value, or yeah, the factor would be good. And then I'll bring that one into the top and then set that to the base color. And that may be a little bit better. Maybe not multiply it that much, maybe just a little less. Maybe can rotate the UV maps. So I could just press U and unwrap. Hopefully that did not slow down my computer too much. I'll wait on this for a minute or so and see if it goes. Yes, how did I create that many buildings? So I actually covered it on the very beginning of the video, but I will show you what I did again. So yeah, let me bring it up. So I used a website. I used this city generator tool, and it's free and open sourced. You can use the cities for whatever you like, and definitely support the developers on this program. It's a really awesome program. So it basically generates city buildings for you, and it doesn't include the textures, so you have to create those yourself, but all I did is I had a building already made that I modeled a long time ago. I just put the camera into orthographic view, made a render, and then put that on the buildings as a texture. So anyway, let me see if, just gonna check if I got any more comments. Okay, it looks like I didn't. So yeah, what you gotta do is just click Run Generator, and then you kind of place everything. This is like the center of the city. These are kind of like the oceans. At least that's how I understand it. I'm still learning how to use this. And then you click Generate. And then it just makes a city just like that. And then you download it, download the STL, and then it creates all the buildings for you. But you still gotta get it, you still gotta texture it. But so yeah, that's what I'm doing in this video. Yeah, it's very handy. It's an awesome program. I really support it, especially because it's open source. Can you do one building? So this program actually doesn't, you can't, I don't think you can export one building from it. You have to export, it creates cities with like hundreds of buildings, and then you export it all at once. Yeah, I don't think you can, yeah, it won't let you export just a single one, as far as I know. I'm still learning how to use it, so it definitely got to get a little more familiar with it, but it's an awesome program. But yeah, all you do is you, I could do this actually. I'll download the STL and show in folder, and then I got the model, and then I can extract it, and then I'll go into Blender. So let's make sure everything's scaled up correctly. And then all I have to do is just bring in the buildings. Download. Oh, I gotta import it as an STL. So downloads. This is it. Model, and then bring everything in. And there you go. One thing you could do is actually some of the stuff has to be fixed a little bit, like you want to use you want to like use Boolean on stuff to cut some stuff out, basically, and for some reason the terrain didn't show under here. Maybe this had to be scaled up, and you can kind of extrude it on the Z-axis, and then then you could basically, wherever the water is, you can use that as a Boolean object. Control minus, and that will sort of extrude it. If I extrude it on the z-axis, yeah. Oh, and I actually have to enable the Bool Tool add-on. Oh, it is enabled. For some reason it won't cut into it though, I'm not sure why. Normally if I add like a boolean, it cuts into the object like this. So yeah, I'm not sure why that didn't work that time. But anyway, yeah, it does usually work, so probably was just a bug or something. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically how I create the cities. Let's see. I gotta. That was some references I was looking at to see how bright that I should make the building look on the top. Okay, so let me. And there's no audio coming in from other videos, right, guys? I just want to make sure. Yeah, thank you. It is awesome. Yeah, it's a very handy program. I really support the developer of it. It's a great program. Not the buildings aren't extremely detailed, but they work, and especially for like aerial views, and even if you're on the street views, they definitely are pretty good buildings. I mean, yeah. I couldn't, and they're all unique, which makes things even better. Website name or a link. So just type in on Google itch.io city generator. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not even showing the website on the right part of the screen. So anyway, just type in Google itch.io city generator, and then it should be the second result. So probabletrain.itch.io, and then click on this one, and then you should be able to get onto the site. Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure my audio was all good. Okay. So yeah, now this top of the building, that UV unwrap did work, which is great. So now all I'm going to do is just take this top view, and I'm going to just rotate that. For some reason that is not. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. This has to be using the UV coordinates, not the object. And that's an easy mistake to make. Yeah, that's working now. And I have to scale that way up. And that doesn't look bad at all, actually. The top, I don't think. Maybe those tiles could be a little smaller. And for some reason I put a background image there that I made. I don't need that, but not sure how to remove it exactly. Let's see. Yeah, because I don't need that. Yeah, so that actually looks like it's working out great. And I do feel like the buildings look like they're too much of the same, a little bit. Maybe there could be a way to variate this a little bit. I'm gonna try to think. Maybe if I add in something like, let's say, so I got this one going onto the top. Yeah, Control minus is the shortcut for Boolean, but before you do the Boolean, make sure in your edit menu in the preferences that you got the Bool tool add-on enabled. So anyway, just gotta figure this out. It gets a little confusing with all these nodes sometimes. Okay, so I got this, which is the concrete texture going into this. Okay, so I think I got it. Alright, and maybe I'll also plug it into the roughness just to make things a little bit more realistic. And for the roughness, why don't I... Maybe I could even use a normal map. We'll see how much it increases the time. Wow, I think the normal map definitely makes it look better, so I think I'm going to actually use that. Even though I didn't want to, I think it's just something I need to use. Yeah, I'm going to keep the normal map in. And in fact, I'm going to actually use the normal map for the main shader as well, which is this one. And I am going to plug the normal into here. Wow, that improves things like a lot. So it almost looks, that made it just look about much better. And especially the dents and stuff, that it makes it look like it's almost not flat if you view it from far enough away. Oh, add fog. That's a great idea. Yeah, why don't I do that? One thing I'd like to do, actually, is I want to multiply some noise on top of this to make some parts look darker and some parts look brighter. But I feel like these dents are a little bit too strong. So let's just actually bring that strength down just a little bit. And for some reason it's not... Oh. That's odd, because when I bring the strength down here, it's not changing. Let's see what's going on. So, I'll bring that back to... Oh, it's because I got the normal in, that's what it is. So I'm going to put that back, and then I'll actually take this one and maybe bring that down to 0.5. It's just a little too strong. Bring the distance to 1. That should be good. Let's see. Yeah. I'm just trying to get this... I feel like it looks a little bit too much like paper. And I think it's just going to be just a little bit less exaggerated, some of these shaders. Yeah, it's this last one. Let's bring that to 0.1, and I'm going to call that... That actually looks really good. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it for now like that. So yeah, let's add some fog. So Shift A, and then now I could use volumetrics, but that increases render time, so I'm gonna do it in a faster way. And let's see, where did that plane go? There it is. And actually, I gotta keep in mind that I'm rendering this in cycles. So let's go to cycles and see how everything looks. That doesn't look too bad. Now, I want to bring the sun up a little bit more. It's a little too dark. Let's see, world. Then elevation. Maybe 2 would be good. Or even 3. And then bring the sun intensity. Or actually I'll leave the sun intensity and maybe change some of these settings here. Maybe bring this down. And bring the dust down. 0.2. And I also want some more ozone in for the shader, and I think something like that is pretty good. And the buildings still seem a little too rough, especially noticing all the cracks in this view. So I'm going to bring down the roughness even more. Yeah, this one could go down to 0.5. Okay. That's pretty good. Alright, so let's bring this plane in, and I'm always going to keep the camera moving on this path, so through here, and this way I could keep the planes kind of facing the camera, and I'll just add fake fog to it. So let's do that. That will definitely help things look a lot better. So I'm just going to scale these way up and then scale it a little bit on the z-axis. And then I'm just going to array a bunch of these. Let's see, we can do it on the constant offset. Something like that, and then bring maybe not so many, maybe like 5 or maybe 6, or I'm not sure, maybe 10. 10 would be good, I think. Something like that. And then just going into the shader editor. I could just create a simple fog shader, so like principled. Yeah. Principled, and then add a mix shader. Bring that one to the top, then add a transparent. And then I can add in something just simple like a noise texture. Use as the factor. Bring in a color ramp. Bring in a texture coordinate. And we think we got something already. Let's see. Hello, it's me. Wow, that already looks pretty cool. Starting to look like fog. Yeah, the fog was definitely a great idea. But now, I actually want to UV unwrap this, so I'm going to unwrap it. And I'm going to use UV coordinates. And I'm going to take a gradient texture, because those edges are too noticeable around the fog. So I got to use a gradient. Let's see, should we use maybe something like quadratic is good. UV, and then maybe not quadratic, maybe spherical. But problem with that one is it starts from the wrong spot. Yeah, so now we gotta just get a mapping node and just move that to the side so that it's kind of in the center. And then I gotta get a color ramp, or I could actually just scale that up. So that it's somewhat spherical, and then take that gradient texture and then multiply it by the color ramp. And then finally, I can mix that in. Flip these, or maybe this one could stay in the bottom. So this should be, oh, I set this to mix. Has to be multiply. And then these have to be changed. And yeah, that looks sort of fog-like. One thing that's not so ideal is that this edge is kind of harsh, the circle. And I'd like to fix that, so let's see what we can do about that. So I'm going to go back, and perhaps we could make this a little bit bigger, like 1.5, and then maybe even 1.4. And then we can just bring in a color ramp and make the fall off a little bit less harsh. That's more what I'm going for. B-spline. And then eventually we do have it cut off to full on black, but we have a wider area where it kind of disappears. And that should be good. Yeah, maybe it was better before, actually. Yeah, I think I'm okay with how it was before. But let me actually just get that sphere to be better centered. And then kind of bring it to around there, which is good. Okay, so that's our fog. And then we viewed through the camera. So our camera is here. Let's bring some of these planes back towards the camera. And I'm going to increase the count to maybe like 15. And just kind of go through the camera and make sure everything looks good. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad. One thing that maybe is not the best is that it kind of looks like it's clipping on the ground. And that can be avoided, but it's not super easy to do. And the reason that's happening is because the fog is so dense. I have to turn down the density, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back to the camera and just bring down everything a lot. So let's see, the fog is here, and all I got to do is just take this value down and just make it very subtle. Oh, and if you notice, if I look through this view, we're getting a little bit of a bug, and the reason that's happening, you see there's black planes here, is because we have to bring up our light paths, and we have to bring up the transparent bounces to a higher number. Let's say, how many planes did we add? We added 15, so this has to be at least 15 to make it fully disappear. So no more artifacts anymore. We can make a little more fog. And let's see if the camera, how it looks. It still looks a little bit like it's kind of on the ground, but it's not too bad. If I go any higher than this, you start to see the kind of distortion it causes, so I gotta be careful with that. This might be really good for an aerial view and maybe not right on the ground. So that's definitely a thought. That might be what I do. Let's see how this looks. And if this fog is increasing the render time, maybe I shouldn't use it. Yeah, it seems like it's increasing my render time a lot. So maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe in fact using just volumetrics will actually be quicker. I'm starting to think, so I'll try that out. So I'm going to try adding just a quick texture cube, scale it way up, scale it on the z-axis, then bring it down and make it sort of big and kind of enclose the city so that we could get our volume material here, which is going to be the fog. All I have to do is add in what's it called, printable volume, and we have our material output. We should have our output. Yeah, we do. Here it is. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them at any time. And that is way too dense. Let's see. This actually seems to be going quicker. So I think I'm going to leave it like this. And it looks better too. Yeah, this is actually going surprisingly fast. Doesn't seem to be slowing things down too much, at least. A little bit, but that's understandable. And I'm thinking I should add that actually, instead of here, into the world shader. So I'll do that. Because the cube just is too small. So I'll do that here. Okay, now nothing's showing up. Maybe that's a bug. Yeah, doesn't seem to be working, so I'll have to do it the other way. That's alright. Just gonna scale that up a little bit more because it looks like it's too much. Like it's stopping at a point and it doesn't look realistic, so it has to be scaled up. And it definitely, the density is way too high. And the color is off, so we're going to bring that just to pure white. And density could be 0.01. And I don't want any scattering. I'd like it to just be fog. Actually, maybe a little scattering would be nice, so I'll put in 0.5. That's not too bad. Too much though. 0.005. 0.002. Just seems like it's adding in. It's not taking too long to render, but I think it's causing a lot of noise. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the mist pass in compositing, and I'll do all the fog in the compositing. That'll work out better, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So actually right now what I'm going to do is just enable all the render passes out, and we'll come back to the fog later on. So let's actually work on adding some more dynamic to this texture, like more realism. So there's some changes from building to building, and that'll make things look a little bit more realistic. So let's do something like, let's go back into Eevee render to make things faster. And now what we could do is we can, maybe that red is kind of throwing things off, so I could always take in a mix shader, mix RGB, and I can always multiply that by a different color. And not mix, it has to be multiply, so I gotta always remember that. And I believe this should work. Now, let's see, so to get rid of the red, doesn't seem like I can get rid of the red. Which is odd. Oh. Okay, so bringing it there kind of makes the red less noticeable. Kind of like the red, but I don't want it so intense. Maybe darker, too? Yeah, darker looks better, I think. So just kind of editing the texture, and maybe what I'll do is actually bring this into a bump map. And use the texture instead. This should help things a lot. Yeah, the thumbnail is to make an audio visualizer, so this is actually part of the visualizer, so I'm actually doing a longer setup. So what I mean is I'm actually rendering 4 individual scenes. So first, the first scene, let's see where it is. It's this one, and this is the visualizer. So what's going to be happening is, I showed this in the beginning of the stream, but let's see. So what I got here is I added in a lot of stuff. So this object here has the, what's this called, a driver, which is driven by the loudness of the sound. And then I got these graph things here, which is cubes. And this was covered in the end of my last stream, how I set that up. And then these cubes are driven by how loud the sound is. And same thing with these wireframes here. Driven by the loudness of the sound. And then this all comes together, and when you play the music, the sound's not on now, but when it plays the music, all of these objects will be kind of animating, and the camera will be flying through relatively slowly, and then it will go through the whole thing. And I'm going to add more in at the end. And then when you get to the end of the tunnel, then it's going to be a new scene, and we're going to transfer over to the building. And there won't, I'm not going to add music visualization to the building scene, but I'm going to add a lot more onto this one. And yeah, then after the building scene, I might create a whole nother scene with another tunnel with more visualization, and we'll see see what kind of ideas I can come up with. Yeah, I know there's a lot of work is in going into this one. One thing I'm trying to keep optimized is render time, because it could take my PC a few days to render everything. I'm gonna try to use I might use a render farm if I can't get everything rendered on my PC. But I don't want to spend too much on it, too much money, so I'm gonna try to get as much rendered on my computer as possible and keep render time optimized. So that'll definitely be a challenge I'll have to keep in mind when working on this. So yeah, there's actually 4 individual scenes that I'm trying to get kind of put together, and in an interesting way that kind of works along with the music, basically. So I'm trying to get this city to look as good as possible. So if it looks decent, that should be good enough. So yeah, so let's actually add in bump map. And of course, if this doesn't work, this city generator I'm using, like if I can't get enough realism, I can always model different cities for more realistic, for more realistic molding and stuff. But I think this actually looks pretty good. Yeah, there's an app for, yeah, that's, I think I heard of that add-on, I'm not sure. What's it called again? I might have seen it before. I believe it's an add-on, right? Yeah. But it still does, the render time can still be really high. But it's nice that it renders things automatically. That's definitely awesome. So this the bump map for the building, which I'm gonna use, I'm gonna create a new bump and then set this one to be the normal. Yeah, and this one I could add in a color ramp, map that to a height value, and it's just being a little bit slow now. Oh, render pilot, I'll have to look into that. So I'm gonna multiply it by this, and it is being very slow. Okay. Almost ready. And yeah, so it should be getting some of the details of the building. Yeah, you can give a link, definitely. Maybe bring that value up to 10. I think that looks better. Maybe if I disconnect this one. Hard to say. I think I'm seeing much of a change. I do see it there though, but it's not, doesn't seem to be changing the roughness too much. I mean the normals. Oh, so maybe it actually is working. I don't know, I thought it would be a little more noticeable. That's alright though. So I'll put that one back into the normal, and I'll leave that at 1. Alright, so I'm going to look at Render Pilot on my second screen here, or the other part of my monitor. Oh yeah, I do remember this. I do remember hearing about this. Yeah, I definitely got to check this out. Definitely going to check this out after the stream and test it out and see how it handles multiple renders. Seems like a really good program. And I'm wondering why oh, I know what's going on. The sky texture only works in cycles. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And actually I noticed the bump map is way more pronounced in cycles than Eevee for some reason. So that's something to keep in mind. Not everything looks consistent. Yeah, so that's actually working out great. Not sure what's going on with Eevee. That almost looks like it could pass as being real, especially with this bump texture on. It really enhances the details. Especially maybe if I turn this up even further. Now it's a little bit too intense, so I'm going to bring that down to like 2. That looks a lot better. And if I'm not right up close to the building, I think it actually looks decent. And I'm going to keep the lighting kind of dim so that it's not too noticeable that it's all repeating. It'll kind of keep things a little bit more more unique looking. Let's see, I can also do some more stuff like, let's see. I can also do something like, I can actually add a bevel into the buildings to make things look smoother, which is one thing I definitely should do. And hopefully it doesn't raise up the topology count too much. Let's see how many quads we're at. Okay, 174,000 faces. That's not too bad. I'd be willing to bring it up a little more, so let's add a bevel. A little slow. Okay, and it works. So now we're at 500,000. And of course I could bring these segments up, but my quad count is gonna surge up here, and my computer's gonna slow down. So now we're already at 1 million faces, and that's too much, so I'm gonna bring it back down to 1. And 1 should be okay. Not gonna have a very big bevel. And don't want to clamp overlap. And that is too much of a bevel. Let's see, maybe 0.02. .01. I don't really want the edge to be noticeable there, the bevel look. Just kind of want it to look like it's smooth. That looks good. And I'm going to apply the scale. And now what I'm going to do is add in I'm going to add in auto smooth. Set the angle to 60. And then add in a weighted normal to make the shading look good. And sometimes I don't always have good luck with that, so let's see why that's going on. Maybe I gotta bring down the auto smooth to 30 degrees. Could be the problem. Nope. Well, I'm assuming there's some duplicated mesh in here, which is probably what's going on, so I can't do it that way. Let's see, keep sharp maybe would be better. That works. That works out well. Alright, and I'm actually going to bring down the bevel even more, just so that edge is not too visible. Just kind of makes things look a little bit more realistic. That's good. And back to our camera. Yeah, I think it just makes the edges look a little bit nicer. So now back into Eevee again. Let's just edit this texture even further. Alright, so we got the concrete material here, this one, and then all we're going to do is we're going to add a mix RGB, and we will take that and we will multiply that one . Actually, I'm going to remove this multiply one here, and then we'll multiply this texture by this one, And then we'll plug that into here. And we don't want this to be mix, we want it to be multiply. And now we're just going to wait for a blender to take its time. And yeah, so not really noticing it now for some reason. Let's see, maybe if we multiply, yeah, that works really good. It kind of gives that like more of a realistic look. It kind of breaks up the repetition. Now I don't want to add in too much. Maybe like 0.75 is good. And maybe this one we could take the scale down to like 5. Or we could leave it at 10. Let's see, what do we want to go with this? I think 10 is good. And we'll multiply that even more. I just gotta find, there it is. That's good. See how it looks in, yeah, it kind of makes it look weathered. It's too intense though. So I'm going to bring that down to like 0.75 or 0.8. And that just breaks the repetition and makes things look more, it just gives more realism to the buildings, I think. I think it actually helps a lot. Even over here, if you look at them from far away, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah. Now, the buildings could be changed, their brick colors, and let's go ahead and do that and make it become, let's just remap it to black and white. And after this, we're going to move on to another step, and we're going to start adding some trees in. Because you could spend lots of time on this part to make sure everything looks good. Let's see if this is giving us what we want. Because I think when we add all the trees in and that kind of stuff, it's just going to make everything look a lot better. And I'm not sure, do you guys like the red better when it's red or when it's black and white? I think I like the red better, but in fact, why don't we do a mix? So I'm going to mix RGB, and I'm going to mix some of it back with the original, and then mix some of it in with the black and white. And then we could do something like that, and that'll just give some more, it'll just take it off red a little bit and kind of bring in more of a black and white color, but at the same time it'll leave some of the original color in. Yeah, so I'm thinking something like here is not too bad. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. This does not look bad at all, actually. I think I'm pretty happy with this. Let's just look at it one more time. Want to get a better view so I could see everything. And perhaps I could turn on the what's it called again? The optics denoiser. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So now it's time to add some landscape in because this is a little bit, there's not enough going on. And actually, in fact, this looks really good. I think these almost look like they're actually popping out, which is good. It doesn't look as flat anymore, basically. So yeah, now I'm going to add in some trees, some landscape items. So I do have my old project, and I got to find that. Let's see, it would be this one, and I could just import the particle plane. And this is going to be slow. So I just gotta wait for that to load. And if you remember on the last project what I was working on where I placed less trees inside the lake, didn't want trees in the lake, that'll be perfect. It'll actually bring some randomness to where I want the trees to be placed inside the city. So I'm going to select the particle system, bring that in, so Control C, then to the city, we could just bring this in. And I definitely like that aerial view, that looks really cool. I think I'm going to do a film with this kind of view too. So I'll think about that also. But let's just do Control V, and we're just going to have to wait for that to import. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, that went actually faster than I would have thought. Okay, so let's go to Object, Origin, and for some reason I gotta make this plane visible. Don't want the moss to render right now. And let's see, scale, don't want to change that. I want to make the plane visible, and I'm gonna have to do something with this plane here, so let's see, where's the option? It's always hard to find options here. I need the option that show emitter. There it is. And we don't need so much displacement. It seems I can't change that though. That's alright. So I'm going to SZ and just make everything flatter. Doesn't seem to work good though. Maybe if I do it in edit mode. Yep, edit mode works. Awesome. Now, these trees have to be shrunk a lot. They are way too big. For the size of the building. I mean, this would be crazy. If trees were bigger than cities, that would be wild. So these trees have to be shrunk all the way down. So we need to bring down the size to something maybe like that. And then we could just pack this all in. Go back into edit mode, maybe scale it back up a little bit more, but not too much. Want a little bit of roughness in to simulate the terrain. And not bad. SY. And I could actually, I kind of would like to have some trees extending outside of the city zone a little bit. I think that would look nice, especially if the camera accidentally sees past the city. And this is a little bit slow, unfortunately. That's alright. There it goes. Let's just make that sized up a little bit bigger. Move it there. We'll raise the number of trees to... and these trees are still... They're just too big. Way too big. Let's bring them down even more. And bring down the randomness to like 0.4. And then bring this down even more. And then I also want to bring that up. Again, scale it in the Z direction. There we go. How does that look? That's not too bad. They can be a little bit bigger. 0.0075. And we can also increase the count to something like 3,200. Maybe even more. 6,000. And let's just see how that looks now. So this will break up some of the repetition. Of course, it's going to take some more time to all load in. And I think those trees are too big. Yeah, they're too big. And what I also want to do is weight paint on this again, where I want the trees to mostly appear. So I'm going to actually change this up. And let's see, we'll go to our tree density vertex group, and we will repaint this. And we could just temporarily hide the trees. And wherever it's red is where the trees will appear, wherever it's blue is where they won't. Let's see, we'll change this up. And we want trees to appear in most spots, but we'll make it so that they're less dense outside of the main city. So we'll just change this up. There we go. And then outside the city, we'll bring the weight down, so that there's just less outside of the main area. Like that. And this could be brought back up. There we go. And now let's see how it looks. Much better. That's what I was going for. Alright, and let's go see how it looks from the camera again. And now we can hide the particle plane. There we go. Let's see how this looks. I don't think that's too bad. The only problem would be that there is that I don't think it would make sense for trees to be growing exactly in the center of here. So I'm actually going to go back into weight paint mode and paint out most of this, because this is a road and you wouldn't really want trees. I don't think it would be good if trees were growing in the center of a road. Yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea. So we're gonna paint that out. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to drive on it. Yeah, it just wouldn't make sense. So I am trying to go for some kind of realism here too. And it is running a bit slow, so I just gotta wait for that. And in the meantime, why don't I actually X out this file, because it is gonna slow things down if I have it running in the back. Okay, still running. Waiting for this to load. Oh, it already is working. Alright. Let's see, we gotta select the trees, and we gotta go back into weight paint. Weight paint, and why don't I save this so we don't lose anything? And why don't I actually also hide the city plane so that it's not blocking my view, and then go back into that plane. Which one is it? Okay, I can't find it now. Is it this one? Not this one. Okay. Nope, not this one. That's weird. It seems like it disappeared. Oh, nope, not that one. I'm gonna go back, actually, and undo that, because I think I might have accidentally deleted it. Let's see what happened. Okay, that's odd. So the plane's here. Do we have the particle system still enabled? Oh, there it is. Alright, I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, so let's go into weight paint, here. And I gotta show it again in the viewport. And now I want to paint this road to be blue so that no trees show up in the roads. So paint that to be a 0 weight. And we'll just do something like this. And we don't have to be perfect here, but we want to make it at least decent. So this will basically tell Blender, don't place trees in the road. And we could also say this is a road, and let's not put trees here. And all these little roads here, I'm not going to worry about them. Probably won't be seeing them too much. Just going to do the main roads. And now you'll notice we go back to object mode, hide the emitter, then go back and enable the... Oh, I just enabled the moss. Didn't want to do that. because there's a million of them. Okay, we're just gonna have to wait. Let's hope nothing crashes on us. Okay, we're just waiting now for this to load in. And it's going to take a while. I should not have done that. Okay. Still waiting. So as soon as that shows up, I'll actually disable it so that the computer doesn't grind to a halt. And what we're going to work on next is actually the gravel, and we're going to make a quick procedural gravel texture. Shouldn't take too long after we get the trees placed in, and we'll get to that tonight, I expect, at least. Okay, this is taking a long time. Might crash. I'll wait another minute or two. Seems like it's trying to go. Because I really don't want to X out because I don't know. I believe it did save most of it, but I might have to redo something. I might have to redo the wave paint if it crashes on me. So hopefully it doesn't crash. In the meantime, I can go through, take a look at this one. Actually, I think it might have went. I think it might have actually loaded in. Yes, it, oh, wait, did it? Let's X that out. Nope, not yet. Alright, so we'll wait for that. So yeah, again, for the interior of this scene, to go to cycles, just take a quick overview of it while we wait for that to kind of render. And it's got a few Boolean cuts into the side, and I did a lot of adjustments with that to make the lighting look good. Lighting's one of the top priorities for this project, so I really want to get the lighting to look decent. at least. Let's see if that other one loaded by now. Alright, I think that I'm actually... Oh. Is it loading? No, it's not. I'm gonna try reloading that again before I exit out. So let's go back and open up City and see if it saved my weight map, my weight painting map. If it did, then that would be great, and I can X that one out that was crashing on me. Let's see, did we get the weight paint? Don't think we did. So I might have to redo that. That's alright though. I'm going to X that out because I don't think it's going to respond. Okay. Oh, is it actually... It's actually responding now. Alright. Awesome. Took a while, but it did respond. Alright. And then if we go to weight paint... Is this the right file? Let me see. This might be the wrong one. So I gotta enable the... In the viewport, I gotta show it again and go back to weight paint. Okay, it didn't... This is not the right one. Oh, the second one is the right one. Okay. Yeah, this one's not going to respond. I don't think so. I'm going to exit out. I'll try to at least. It's not even Xing out. And I hate to leave it there because it just will cause things not to respond well. Sometimes clicking on it a lot will work, but it's not this time. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I don't want to cancel it now. Oh. No, I lost it. Oh, wait. Or no, never mind. Yeah, that one didn't work. That's alright, so I'll try to recover it. It should be there, and it looks like that it is. So it's good that Blender always auto-saves things. Yeah, and I just gotta repaint that road again. So that's no big deal. So again, weight to 0, and this we gotta make sure we're on the weight group. Tree density, awesome. Just gonna go in and paint this. Just like this. And then that can go there. Then this, same kind of thing. That should be good. And now if we go in, we gotta remember to be very careful this time and not select and not turn on the moss and just the trees. And make sure we never turn this on, but for the render we need it. Or maybe we don't. And yeah, now we got the trees showing up, and most of them are showing up properly. There's a few showing up in the middle of the road, and I'd like to get that fixed. So let's go back into weight paint and see what's going on. Maybe we missed painting this area here, and we gotta just make this a little bit better, maybe. And because we don't want trees showing up in the middle of the road, as that wouldn't make sense. Just gonna fix this here a little bit. And for the most part, it seems like it's working now. There's a few that do show up. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. Seems like everything's working now well. So I'll leave it at that. Let's go to the camera and let's see what we got. That looks a lot better. I think the trees might be a little bit too big. Can scale them down. Give it some randomness. And now this plane for the ground, we don't want to view it. We want that to be hidden. Now, I would like the trees to avoid intersecting with the building, but to be honest, I think that I'm not too worried about it. It shouldn't be too noticeable. So I'm just going to leave it as it is for right now. If it becomes a problem later, I can always adjust that. So we don't want to show the plane. And let's just take a quick look. Now, I think everything, the trees, with the trees and everything, it's the continuousness of the textures is kind of looking better. Less things are looking more random. I don't think this looks too bad at all. Especially with the trees. Now there's some leaves coming out of the trees, which kind of looks odd, but I'll just kind of go past that. This does not look bad at all. I'm pretty happy with this. And I can kind of get a preview. So yeah, if you don't go right up to the building, it actually looks pretty decent right now. And I can always make this at night, which would be a good idea, but we'll see about that. So let's set it back to filmic. Let's set the very high contrast. And let's just bring up the sun. I think I want to make it brighter out. Not really sure on that though. Always can adjust this later on. Make it medium high or even high contrast, but not go too crazy with that. That does not look bad. So now we have a problem though. We need to make the road look like pavement. And one other thing is I think the sun is, the angle is harsh. Let's actually take that sun angle and rotate it a little bit so it's not right in the middle. We could go with something like that or something like that. I think bringing it to the left would look better. I don't want to be looking right at the sun. So I'm going to bring that rotation to the left. Then bring that back to 3. View the camera. That looks a lot better, I think. Lighting is everything, but lighting is very important. This doesn't look bad at all. Now what I'd like to do is actually make the buildings a little taller if I could. I feel like they're too short. So I'm going to go back and just this mode and just select everything. And then I could just move it on the Z-axis. And I don't want to go too crazy with the height, otherwise it'll ruin the textures just a little bit. And we'll see how that looks. I might have done it too much. We'll see about that. No, I think that actually looks good. Oh, there is some issues though with some of the buildings. You could see that that's from the bevel, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe it just didn't get selected for some reason. And I should probably hide the trees for now. It's slowing things down. So I'm just going back and gonna reselect everything from the top view. And then you can see it misses some stuff, so we gotta do it again. Make sure, gonna just take a quick look and make sure everything is really selected. Otherwise you'll get some weird distortions in the mesh, which is not good. And we can move that up, grab Z 0.25. That should be good. Just to give the buildings a little bit more height. And of course control, or no, maybe I don't want to do that because then the textures will get distorted, so I'll just leave that. And we'll take a look. I think that looks really good. If you don't go too close to the buildings, it honestly doesn't look too bad. And we can always move forward with the camera and make sure things look okay. It even looks good, even if you're close to the buildings. This could pass as being real enough. I think. So I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah, this isn't bad. Could have some interesting views, like an aerial flyover, which I think would be awesome, and I plan on doing that for this video. That I really would love to do. Yeah, I'm gonna actually do that. I just decided that would be a great idea. That might be what I work on next, actually. So yeah, that'll be the third scene. So I'm kind of like planning as I go here. But let's add in the gravel to the road. Let's work on that now. Because we need a good road texture, and let's just hide the trees since we don't need them now. And I'm gonna just save this so we don't lose anything, and we're gonna go back and add in gravel. So this could be just we're gonna add in a new material and just call it gravel, and let's just go into Eevee to make things fast. And we'll just start setting up the shader here, and we gotta wait for this to load about 15 seconds or so. It's just compiling the shaders. And let's go into material mode. I'm sorry, object mode. And then what we'll do is, let's see, I gotta view frame all. Nope, it's not enabled, it's not letting me. Oh, okay. I deselected it, that was the problem. Alright, so let's add in noise. And let's add in our texture coordinates, Control T. We'll add this all in for you. And then let's add in Voronoi texture. And we're going to try to make realistic gravel, but with simple textures so we don't go too crazy on the render time, but something complex enough to look good. So let's add in mix shader and noise texture. We can add in the color ramp. Scale this way up and use the object coordinates. Control A, apply all the transforms, and something like this is already not looking too bad. Let's go to 200. So this is going to be like a road, maybe 100 is good. Detail, we want that to 8. Distortion, perhaps 0.5 would be a good value. So now we can bring that into a principled, and we could just plug it into the bump map. And the height value, bring that into the normal. Let's see how that looks. Make this dark. Already it's not half bad. Something like that would actually work out pretty good. But we can take this a little farther. Let's bring up the roughness. Something like that. And let's see, I'd like to add some wear/tear to it. So in fact, all I'm going to do is take in our concrete shader, like this, concrete, and then all we got to do is copy that, and then go back to our gravel. It's a little slow. And then Control V, and then we could just add in a mix shader, mix this one in, mix this one in to the top, and then pipe this out to here. And we're kind of getting a mix of the concrete now and the gravel, and let's go generally towards the gravel side so that we're getting more of that. But we also want some of the road in too. And if we just go with something like that, we're already pretty much there. Now this texture is slowing things down, but that's alright. Let's see how it works in cycles. That doesn't seem too slow. Let's see without everything. Okay, so it's slowing down things a little bit. This one I can always reduce the detail levels to 8. Speed things up. Okay, now it's not slowing it down too much. Now do I want to go with... Let's see. I want to make this darker. Okay, I must have changed something here. Okay, so let's again change that back to 8. I think I changed the wrong value before. And now I could go back and just adjust this. For some reason, bringing that to 8 is not looking good at all, though. Okay, so I have to leave that top one up for the Musgrave. That makes sense. And I could actually bring these down to 4. Really don't need much out of them. I think that looks pretty good. Now let's see, do I want to go darker with this maybe? Maybe not. Maybe want to bring that a little less bright and then mix in some more. That should be good right about there. And then what else could I do? Let's see, what are we getting out of this? This scale has to be brought up to like 10. And then we can mix even more in. Something like 0.3. That doesn't look bad. I want some kind of like scratches on the road, but it's a little bit too much. Let's bring it to 0.2. Maybe bring up the gravel scale to like 200 or 150. And I think we're gonna go with that. And for the sides of the roads, gonna go with something metallic, I think would be good. Let's see, we probably shouldn't even have anything there though. Maybe I'll just leave that as gravel. This will be gravel too. And what I will do is just bring this down. I don't want the gap to be so noticeable. Now it just looks like texture seams, so maybe I don't even need that. Not sure. I'll have to decide on that. Yeah, I don't think I need that. So let's go back and add in the particles. Or the trees. Which is this. Save everything. And now what's important is we need a dirt shader, because we need wherever the trees are to be dirt. And we'll paint that in too to I believe we could do that. Can we actually? That might be a little more complex to do. I'll have to think about that. Because we need some like grass in here. First of all, I think we need more trees, so let's actually bring that number up even further. I know what I'm going to do actually for the next part. I'm going to use booleans again. Alright, so let's get this working again. So we're going to add in the trees, bring it up to 10,000. That should be enough. Move our camera down. Let's see what it looks like here. This is like a city block, sort of. This looks pretty cool. Very narrow. So yeah, obviously trees, they can't grow out of the pavement, so I'm going to have to fix that. As far as everything's going now here on this, with this, it's starting to look better. Maybe I'll add in some street lights and stuff later on. So I'll have to figure that out. There's definitely more to add. Right now, let's work on the ground. And we don't need the trees. So let's add in a cube. Let's go to top view. And we're just going to boolean the road here quickly. This will be very simple. Just So we'll go like this, scale it down, extrude, extrude it again. Just trying to get this so that we can keep the road cleared. And then what we'll do is we will go to edit mode and then move it on the Z-axis. Control minus. Didn't seem to work that time. I'm not sure why. That's odd. Try it again. Okay, there it goes. And we'll model that in again. This is all non-destructive, so you can always undo it. Go to top view and just make this look a little bit better. And we'll just keep modeling this as accurate as we can. Okay, so I see what I did wrong. I only selected one edge. Gotta select the whole front face. Go back. And now things are working as they should. Let's move that there a little bit. Scale that down just a slight amount. There we go. Now all we have to do is go into this object, go to the bottom, deselect the sides, and the top SZ0 should make it flat. Bring it back down, and that'll kind of cut out the road. Make things look better. Yeah, but I don't want it that low. Maybe something like that is good. And also, let's add a subdivision surface. To make it smoother, more of an easy transition to the road. Let's see, let's move that down. Now it's nice and smooth. You can take a look, and that building is actually falling off, so we gotta fix that. Let's add in another loop cut. Just kind of edit that. That's a lot better. So we'll just kind of go around and fix minor issues like that. Everything looks decent so far. Now, for the road, it's a little bit too pronounced. Let's move that up. That's better. Let's give it a texture. While deselecting everything outside of that. So this won't deselect for some reason. There it goes. And does anybody have questions? I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm just getting rid of this orange area so that I don't delete that. Actually, that might not be the best way to do it. I'm selecting the wrong thing. Okay, so I gotta just do Control I. Right? Yeah. I think. But I might have to apply the boolean to do that, and I don't want to do that right now because once you apply a boolean, it's permanent, so I'd like to just leave that for now. Which is fine. So let's see, what else can we do? Alright, so let's actually add in our other blend file. Bring in the main mesh. Which is this. And then Control C, Control V. Should paste it into the blend file. There it is. And now let's close this one out. because we don't need it. And let's scale that way down. And scale that a lot on the z-axis. Could just have random dirt patches, basically, if that's alright. But that kind of looks odd. So, I believe we can control this using the displace modifier, possibly. And we can use another weight paint to change this up. So we could paint this area, we could paint the area outside of this to be displaced up, so it pushes up, and then this part doesn't displace, which would be a good idea. So let's give that a try and see how that works out. It's going to slow down a bit because it's subdivided pretty high. There it goes. And I'm going to turn down the subdivide. Temporarily. And you know what? I don't need this much detail. Since it's got most of the detail in the city itself, I think I could bring this down. So we got the levels at 10. Let's try just disabling the second one. And then we could go like something like 6 on this. Maybe a little more. Maybe 8. Maybe even 9 is fine. And we'll go along with that. And if we go into weight paint, let's make sure it's relatively quick. Okay, it's not too bad. It's a little sluggish, but it's fine. Now I could just go in and call this road height or dirt height. And strength, what do I want the weight to be? I want it to be 1, so let's paint everything with the density of 1. A little bit slow, but still doable. Still workable. Now we'll go into the center, and where this road is, we're going to paint it strictly to be 0. And let's give that a rougher fall off. Sharp. Nope, not sharp. Constant. Yes, that would be really good. Although I want a little bit of an edge to it. Can just push that up a little bit more. But give somewhat of an edge. So that it's not completely sharp. Now bring that weight down. I think something like this is okay. Weight down to 0 again. And you know what? I'm actually not happy with this. Let's just do smooth. Go to 7 for top view. That's alright. This should be okay. Alright, and let's see how that works. Displace, dirt height, and now you'll notice if we set the strength to be higher, it should. Yes, exactly what I wanted. So it's not going to displace in the roads, and it's just going to displace in the areas that we want them to. Now, we can paint some areas that we really want the height to be in. Let's make this displacement texture actually scaled up a little more. Like actually scale up the textures to like 10. One, 10, scale everything down. Go with that. All of these will use the dirt height so that it never goes over. And that is working out great. Let's just actually adjust that even further. And let's go back into weight paint and just make things a little more accurate. Let's paint out some of these areas kind of coming out too much, and just kind of make things look a little bit better. We can have some of the dirt kind of going in a little bit, but not too far. And this is really cool. You can kind of tweak things as you need. Yeah. Now, of course, I'd like to duplicate this and just move it over. Kind of bring that there. You won't even notice the seam unless you're really looking for it. If you want, you could always just kind of overlap it and you really won't notice it. Let's go to the camera and wow, the dirt mounds are too high. Scale that down. Bring it up. And it's kind of doing what I want it to. I mean, yeah, it's not half bad. Actually, even better, why don't we just, instead of doing the weight paint, why don't we actually just delete that part that's visible? That would be a much simpler solution. Surprised I didn't even think of that. Now we don't even have to worry about it. and we can just go. It seems like it deletes too much, so I want to undo that. And why don't I actually just not delete such a thick area? Maybe go something like that. There it goes. Nope. A little difficult to keep the mouse aligned, but that's alright. I think I got it. Yeah. I can bring this up a little more. Let's see how it looks from the camera. How is that? Is this alright? Yeah, this looks pretty good. Notice that seam a little bit too much. Let's bring that down. There we go. Let's put the trees in. See how it looks from here. That color is just bothering me. Let's make it less harsh. That's better. A little less dark brown. Kind of looks like soil a little bit. Let's put the trees in. Oh, and let's actually extrude this. so that it's solid and we don't get any issues. It didn't fix anything. Alright, we'll leave it how it was. Okay. So let's put in the trees. And now let's weight paint where we want most of the trees to appear. And I'm going to spend some time on this. Okay. Alright, and let's get rid of any weight outside of it. Let's sharpen up the fall off. And let's paint out areas we don't want to have trees. So, like here I don't want any. Only where there's dirt, really, for the most part. Just spending some time on this to get this accurate as I could. That should be good. Not going to go too crazy with it. Trees. Camera. And for some reason they're appearing in the road, which they shouldn't be. Gonna edit that. Try it again. For the most part, it's fine now. Yeah, now it's working good. Let's add in a lot more trees though. See how this looks. Oh, and we gotta hide the plane. Wow, this is not looking bad at all. Let's get like a nice rooftop view. Kind of look down. Can kind of fly over. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, why don't we do that now and actually animate the camera flying over? I think that's what I want to do. And we'll kind of fly it into the nicest parts of where it is. So let's add in a curve modifier. We'll do this very quickly. Hopefully it works out well this time. I'm gonna animate it now really quickly. So instead of the curve, why don't we just do, let's say, I'm gonna do some quick math. 500 divided by 30 is 16 frames. Let's do, I don't know, let's get into 1,000 frames. 1,000 frames is 30 seconds, that's good enough. Let's go to the camera. And what should we do? Maybe start out from here. But kind of be at an aerial view. And then we'll kind of just fly through. Let's make sure this looks good. I think it looks okay. And yeah. Set the end to be at 1,000 frames, 30 FPS, or 29.97. Hello. Yeah, so I'm actually animating something now. Yes, so just so you are familiar with what's going on now. So I'm going to be animating the camera to fly over the city. So what was I was going to do, walk navigation, and yeah, so now we can kind of go like this, kind of just view over it, and we'll kind of just walk through, and we don't want to ever see the edges. Yeah, so let's try that out. Let's do 1,500 frames. Now, automatic keyframing. Play it. Now quickly go to View, Navigation, Walk. Oh, it's too stuttery. Undo that. We can just disable some things. Can get rid of that temporarily. We can also get rid of the high poly. And the particles, we don't need them now. And that should keep everything nice and smooth. Let's try it again. View. Walk navigation, there we go. Ooh, that's pretty cool. That's enough right there, I think. All right. That looks great. That looks really good. And with everything else added in, the particles, where is it again? There it is. We add in the trees. We got a pretty interesting park. We got a nice city flyover. Let's, though, smooth out the camera. We have to do that. That's one thing we gotta do. And we can also disable most of the stuff now, so that it's smooth. Okay, so we have to smooth out the animation. That's not too difficult. Let's see. Dope sheet. Nope, not dope sheet. I'm sorry. Graph editor. Camera. Now, we're gonna just go to key, sample, then key again, then smooth keyframes, and do that a few times. Alt-O. And each time you do this, everything will become a lot smoother. And I feel like this is too fast. This is too fast. So let's just press S2. I'm sorry, S2 here. Let's see, does that frame look okay? Yeah, I think it looks good. I want one more thing actually, though. Doesn't have to be high detailed, but I'd like to add in one more high poly mesh from the other scene we had. And you'll see why that I want to do this in a minute. And the reason why I'm doing this is to add in mountains. I want to add in some mountains to the background, because sometimes you see over the top of the buildings and we need to get some mountains in there. And this will just kind of make it look even better. So this will just be a final thing I add in, and then we'll finish this over the next few days after that. So let's just go to the high poly, Control C, then we can just close it out, close this one, and then we can do Control V. It's going to take about a couple seconds to import it in, because it's very high poly. So we'll just wait for that. Exactly, this was what I was going for. But I want to scale that down just a little more. Even more. Or that's actually good. And just kind of have it so like the city's sitting on one part of it, and then we can just delete most of it out. So let's just see the view from the camera now. So we can just shrink the mountains down a little bit more. And you know what? We don't need this much topology. We don't need this much detail, because it's just going to be far away. Speed things up. Let's just take down the oh, I actually can't because I applied it. That's alright. That should be fine. I wonder if I could decimate this. The topology is just too much. Let's try a decimate. And I'll bring that up. 0.5. Yeah. Oh, I'm adding it to the wrong one. Alright. I meant this one. Oh, I could just bring the subdivide down to like 9. Maybe is fine. This one I don't really want. So I can leave this at 10 now. Make it a little bit smoother. Maybe I'll bring that down even another level. And yeah. So you can see we kind of got the background mountains in there. And one more thing is I kind of like to have this like, I want to do some weight painting and like decide where the displacement is applied to. So let's just go to weight paint one more time here and just paint out. We don't want the mountains on the center, so we're gonna just let's see, how do we do this? Weight. Oh, is my mesh selected? Yeah, it is. Okay. Weight paint. Oh, I see what the problem is. We have to apply the modifiers. There we go. Now we can do weight paint. There it goes. Let's do a weight of 1. And we need to get the whole thing to be painted like that. Weight of 1 though. Just make the whole thing red. And let's make the brush fall off to be constant. And now fall off to be smooth. And we'll make the weight to be 0. And then we'll paint in the center like that, maybe a little bit smaller. Weight to be 0 again, smaller there though. Oh, and I don't want it to be that harsh. That will be too noticeable. Smooth again. There we go. That's not too bad. Okay, now let's see what we can do. So now displace. Add that in. Same thing here. Strength to displace is defined by that. And now we only want the displace to be, we need to change the mid-level. Maybe not. There it is. Alright, so we need to displace it. We need to scale it up a little more. And it's kind of doing what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's good enough. Maybe these mountains are a little taller than I would like, but you know what? I think that looks... Oh. Why is it, Oh, I brought it up way too high. Alright. That makes sense. Okay. That's no problem. Oh, I have automatic keyframing on. Wow, what am I doing? I gotta remember that. I don't want any of these keyframes here. Delete, 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 and delete. Gotta remember to shut that off. Okay, now it's... I didn't know what was going on there. That was confusing me. Makes sense now, though. Yeah, this is awesome. And for the last part of this, what I will try to get to tonight is, why don't we just give these mountains a nice texture? Instead of dirt, why don't we make it look more like a mountain? So I could just set this to be 8 again. View camera. And the colors, I'd like to add in another mix shader and use the, and guys, don't worry if you don't understand this. This stuff is definitely complex, but hopefully I can make more detailed tutorials on this in the future. So what I'm going to do is separate XYZ, add that in, then add in the Z value as a factor, bring it into a color ramp, and pipe that into there. And we see we got our mountains, bring up the black. Doesn't seem to be working right. You know what? So we can fix that, no problem. Add in another texture coordinate, add in another one here, object, vector, set that to be here, and we can always just set the scale back to 1 by 1 by 1, bring up the height, I believe, not the scale, the height. There we go, that's what I want. And now we can change the colors to be just white on the top, the very top of the mountains. So let's do something like that. Maybe is better. Maybe bring it down a little more. Stretch it now, so it's less harsh. Then bring it up. Kind of have to keep doing this until you get it right. For some reason it seems to be very harsh. Not sure why this is. Let's do 0.1 or 0.2. Okay, so that makes it less harsh. Let's do 0.05. View camera. Zero, 3. That's better. More of a transition, basically. And we'll use that to mix in another shader. It should be this one with the Fresnel again. This one, and then this one. But we'll make that white. And we'll make this one fully white. And we will then move that into mix. And we will use this as the factor for the mix. And then we'll move that into the bottom. And if everything works correctly, look at that, we got snow on the top. Awesome. Alright, so I think this is as far as I'm going to go tonight. I had a lot of fun working on this with you guys. Definitely like doing these live streams. We'll have a lot more out in the future, so definitely stay tuned. These videos are always saved onto my past live streams, so you can always watch them again. And let's just look around and see what we got so far. So one thing I don't like is that this mountain, the ice seems to be too uniform, it's too smooth, and we'll fix that in the next video I make. It's late here tonight, so I'm gonna go soon, but I'm gonna work on this the rest of the week and still have videos up. So yeah, let's actually do one more thing though before I go. Let's go to world. Maybe we'll bring down the sun elevation to like 5. Just see if that improves things. Because maybe I want to go more of a nighttime look. Not really sure yet. And for some reason the sky looks just too white. I'd like it to look more like blue, but then the ground gets too blue. I think the dust value is what is making things not look so good. Yeah, so that actually looks a little bit better. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that. And I suppose we could do a test render now. Let's just choose a good frame. That looks pretty good. It's hard to choose one, to be honest. I'd like to get one over here. Let's do 258, I like that one. But I actually want it from the other side. That's good. And now let's enable all the trees to be in. So now it kind of looks natural where it cuts off. Before it wasn't looking so good, now I think it actually looks okay. And one last thing. We'll enable all the stuff. Particles on. Don't need the fog. So far, we'll add that in post into compositing. And let's see, what else was I going to do now? I can't remember. Filmic. Oh, I was going to add in the trees, that's right. Yeah, so particles, trees. It's going to slow down the render time a lot. But look at how nice that looks. And look, I love the trees on the outside of the city. That looks awesome. These details are looking great. And even though there's some trees growing in the pavement, to be honest, it's not even too noticeable, and it looks it kind of totally fits in, so I think I'm okay with that. Alright, let's get a render of this. Let's do some quick compositing, and I'll do some more advanced compositing off camera. And yeah, so let's just do something like 32 samples just to get an overall look at it. That should be alright. Let's save this. I don't want any clamping on the lights. 256 by 256 is good. And let's make sure we got the optics enabled, and let's render this out. Oh, before we do that, very important, we have to enable all the render passes, which they are, so that's good. And does anybody have any questions? Wow, this is going pretty quick. Liking the mountains in the back. There's a little bit of an issue happening right there. And that's caused some of the light being too harsh. That's alright though, it's not too noticeable. Could always work on fixing that later on. So yeah, kind of look, we gotta do some color balancing of this, which I'll do on this video quickly. Let's go into the node editor. The compositor. Use nodes. Backdrop. Let's just add in a quick color balance. And now I'll just crank up these values. And we don't want to go too crazy. Let's go up to 1.3. This one can be brought up even more to like 3. But then this one, let's go crazy with this and just see what happens. 5. It's too much. So this can be brought up to 2. This one 1.5. Let's compare. Maybe not so much. Maybe 1.75 here, and then 1.3. That looks good. Let's adjust now some of the colors. This I'll go to 2 on actually. That's interesting, but I kind of like the other way better. Can add in a little bit of sunbeams. Mix. Set it to add. 0.2. 0.1. So it's not so noticeable. Add in the border. 4 on each. Good. Add in another one. This will be another blur. I'm sorry, glare. Threshold of 2. Fog glow. 9. Threshold of 10. And we'll just bring down the amount. Negative 0.9. Negative 0.8. This is too much. That looks pretty good. One more thing for tonight. Glare. I'm sorry, what is it? Lens distortion. 0.02. And fit. And yeah, let's just add in denoise. And let's see what we get. And perhaps some quick color corrections that I can also do. To enhance things further. Let's try bringing this to 4, just for a test. Really try to up the contrast here. Not sure if this is a good idea, but I figure it's okay as long as nothing's clipping. And so far it looks like you may be getting close to that point, so let's just limit it to 3. Let's take this up to 1.75. Or even higher, 1.8. Let's take a look at it again. Let's denoise it. Might be a little too dark. Yeah, it's too dark. Gonna do that one more time actually and fix that. .6 is good on this, and then 1.8 or 2.5 should be good. Could go all the way up though. Just trying to watch this sky so that it doesn't clip. Looks like it clipped right around here, so I don't want to bring it up too extreme. I'd like to go up to 2.5, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Maybe bring this to 1.5. Let's compare it. Two 2.5 maybe. Should be okay. .4 on this. Just don't want to get that too dark. And let's check this one more time. I think that looks pretty good. And we'll denoise this one more time. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's give it different looks. And then of course we gotta change the color slightly. Not so much though. Just a little amount should be good. And yeah, that's it. I'll have more videos up this week of creating this. Been pretty busy with this, so yeah, I'm enjoying this a lot. I hope you guys are too. And again, on my Patreon, every single file in this series and all my other videos that I upload for the my Blender videos will be included on my Patreon, and you can use these files for your own projects and stuff. So yeah, that link is in the description, and definitely subscribe. I'll be making a lot more of these. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, leave them at any time in the comments. Thank you guys for watching.